I do not remember the day I was born, but I remember the day I learned I was unwanted. In our village, mornings arrived quietly. Dust floated in the air like tired birds, and the sun rose slowly behind the broken line of mud houses. Women swept courtyards with straw brooms, children chased goats, and men left early for fields that barely fed their families. It was a place where everyone knew everyone else's pain, yet pretended not to see it. I lived in a one-room house at the edge of the village with my mother. There was no father in my memories, no photograph on the wall, no stories told at night. Whenever I asked about him, my mother's face hardened like dried clay. "He left," she would say, and nothing more. As a child, I believed love was something you earned by being quiet. I learned early not to cry. Crying annoyed my mother. When I was hungry, I waited. When I was cold, I folded my arms tighter. Other children ran to their mothers after falling, but I brushed the dirt from my knees and walked home silently. I thought if I caused no trouble, I would be loved. But love never came. My mother worked whenever she could, washing clothes, cleaning houses, cooking for weddings. She returned exhausted, her eyes sharp and distant. Some evenings she looked at me as if I were a burden she had forgotten to put down. Other nights she ignored me completely, eating her food without offering a bite. When I was 7, I stopped asking for anything. School was a luxury we could not afford. While other children carried books tied with string, I carried water from the well and collected firewood from the fields. Sometimes I watched the school from behind the banyan tree, listening to the echo of lessons drifting through open windows. I imagined myself inside, writing my name, learning the meaning of words like hope and future. At night, I dreamed of a different life, one where my mother smiled at me, brushed my hair, and called me by my name with softness. In dreams, she held my hand. In reality, she barely touched me. As I grew older, neighbors began to whisper. Some pitied me. Others judged my mother. "Why keep a child if you cannot love her?" they asked when they thought I could not hear. My mother heard everything, and each word deepened the bitterness inside her. One afternoon, I overheard a conversation that changed everything. 2 women sat in our courtyard with my mother, their voices low but urgent. I was inside, pretending to sleep. "She is growing," one woman said. "Food is expensive. Clothes cost money." My mother sighed. "I know. There is a family in the city," the other woman added. "They cannot have children. They are willing to pay $5,000. The words fell like stones into my chest. $5,000. I did not fully understand what that amount meant, but I understood the tone. I understood that my life was being measured, weighed, and priced. That night, I did not sleep. For days after, my mother avoided my eyes. She became unusually gentle, cooking more food, asking me if I was tired, telling me to sit. Her sudden kindness frightened me more than her cruelty ever had. A week later, she told me to bathe and wear clean clothes. "We are going somewhere," she said. I asked where. She did not answer. We traveled by bus to the city. It was my first time leaving the village. Tall buildings replaced trees, and the air smelled of smoke and noise. My heart beat fast with fear and excitement tangled together. Part of me hoped this was a new beginning. We stopped in front of a large house with a metal gate. A woman in a fine dress opened the door. She smiled at my mother, then looked at me as one might look at an object in a shop. Inside, the house was clean and quiet. A man sat on a sofa, his hands folded. They talked while I stood near the door. "She is obedient," my mother said. "She doesn't complain." The woman nodded. "That is good. I waited for my mother to tell me what was happening. Instead, she took the envelope from the table. $5,000. She did not hug me. She did not explain. She turned and walked away. I ran after her, my legs shaking. "Amy," I cried, my voice breaking. "Where are you going?" She stopped for a moment but did not turn around. "This is better for you," she said flatly. "Do not make this harder." Then she left. The door closed. In that moment, something inside me shattered quietly. The City family was not cruel, but they were not loving either. They fed me, clothed me, and gave me a bed. I became part of their household routine, a shadow that cleaned, cooked, and stayed silent. They called me by a new name, as if erasing the old one could erase where I came from. At night, I cried into my pillow, careful not to make a sound. I replayed my mother's face in my mind, searching for regret. I found none. Years passed. I grew into a young woman carrying a heavy emptiness. I learned to survive without expecting affection. I worked harder than anyone, believing usefulness was the only reason people kept me. One day, while cleaning the storeroom, I found old books. I began reading secretly at night. Words became my escape. Education, which I was denied as a child, became my quiet rebellion. Slowly, I changed. I saved money from small tasks, learned skills, and eventually left that house to work on my own. Life was still difficult, but it was mine. I did not return to the village for many years. When I finally did, my mother was older, her back bent, her eyes tired. The house looked smaller than I remembered. She recognized me instantly. For the first time, she cried. "I had no choice," she said. "I was drowning." I listened silently. "I thought money would save us," she whispered. "But it only took you away." I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her about the nights I begged the darkness to bring her back. About the part of me that never learned how to feel safe. But I did not. I realized something standing there in that broken courtyard. Being sold did not define my worth. Being unloved did not make me unlovable. I forgave her, not because she deserved it, but because I deserved peace. When I left the village again, I carried no anger, only clarity. Some children are sold for money. Others are sold for silence. But none of them are worthless. This is my story. And I survived.